Hi, my name is Brandon. I come from Monk Lambert, healing all the way from Monk Lambert. Big up all the Monk Lambert people. One time, the geriatrics. So I would have gotten into poetry via my communication studies teacher. It was actually a IA. We had to come up with either a skit or a poem or spoken word poetry, and I decided I'll try the spoken word poetry. If you know me, you know Isaiah. He has been truly an inspiration. I remember there was a time we sat to the back of the truck and he was going through one of his poems, and I was like, damn, that definitely took me on a journey. It was crazy, it was good. And I remember my aunt as well, she's also very inspirational. She passed away, but every time Isaiah would have a show, we would go to that show, we would engage the audience, we would kind of feel out everybody, see how they thought the poem was. And my aunt, I remember one great memory was when we sat in the room and they said, no eating, and she'd pull out a Crix pack. And that was kind of cool to me. So yeah, she and Isaiah were definitely the two that prompted or propelled this poetry journey. I feel like what inspires my poetry is current events, and that might be a little cliche because a lot of poets might do current events, but I feel like I studied history at the Form 6 level, so actually studying that and understanding the history of the Caribbean, understanding the history of the Americas, I feel like I would have been drawn to talk about current events a lot more. Sometimes I might reference those current events to events in the past and show that we actually haven't changed. So I feel like that is what really inspires my poetry. I feel like with regard to my writing process, I actually sit down and let an idea stew first. I would think of an idea and I would just sit down or lie down on my bed at night and I would think about it. So let's say the piece is about a particular victim of domestic violence or someone who was a victim of murder. I would lie down and I would think about it, think about how the families felt, think about how that person would have felt. Even in their last moments, what were they thinking of? And I feel like in that moment, I'm able to write based off of that, really immersing myself in the experience of the individual. Because I feel that is important, that you begin to use the very words of the characters you read of. My vocabulary expanded. Some themes I would have explored in my poetry would be themes such as domestic violence, I guess treating the environment with care and consideration. I'm a big advocate for climate change, cyberbullying, there's another big one. I have a poem on that. And it has always been my hope that after I perform a poem, an audience member walks away thinking, deep in thought, and not just to think, but to actually act. This is just for me. I feel like in terms of vulnerability, I let go everything on a stage. I am not somebody who easily cries, so I feel like when I perform a piece, I am able to be free with what I say, how I say it, with my emotions. So vulnerability, again, it comes back to the role I am playing. This is not me. I am performing on behalf of somebody. I never experienced domestic violence, but I am sure the person who I'm talking about, they would want it to be portrayed in such a way that the audience member feels their pain. I feel like an advice I would give to someone who is not writing is simply write. You don't have to come up with the perfect personification and the bigger metaphor, and you see the poets like the Nick and you say, oh God, nah, I will never make it. No, just write about anything. If all your lines ending in rhymes, write, because at the end of the day, that is what is going to propel you to be not even the big names, because that is not the goal at the end of the day. The goal is to reach people, have them asking questions. That is what is going to cause persons to ask questions. Everybody has something to say, but it's really how we say it. Performing at Bacano Leaf, I feel, has forced me to write. As a poet, and I'm sure many poets would experience this, writing is just not the thing. You could perform, but when it comes to writing, it's sometimes the most difficult. So Danica actually forcing us to write poems at the ending of the month, new poems. That has kind of propelled me or made me a better artist. Even performing as well, because I felt like I used to just stand up, reciting poems and that is it. But now I can actually put actions behind the words. So I feel like that as well, it has enhanced my performance style. So yeah.